Welcome to Teen Up, a podcast that digs deeper into the thoughts of teenagers' mind about the wonders of the world.
If you're new here, I'm your host, Isabella.
And I'm Glenn. If you're not, welcome back.
Here is a quick disclaimer. We are two teenagers that are doing our best to research everything. However, we are not experts, so if we offend anyone or say something wrong, we want to apologize in advance. Please email us to tell us what was wrong. Thank you. Moon Festival is a time when the weather starts to cool off. It is also a time for family to reunite and connect. In this special episode, we will look into the origin of this festival and some traditions.
This episode's gonna be more laid back and not that serious because it's mainly about a story.
Okay.
So, if we want to talk about the origin of Moon Festival, we have to talk about Chang'e.
Okay.
She is the wife of Hou Yi. So, Hou Yi was like this ancient hero type of person. It was said that in ancient times, there were 10 suns in the sky. So that's a lot.
Right.
And people say that he was good at archery. And people back at that time were suffering from the 10 suns because it creates a lot of heat. And these citizens, farmers, they couldn't work under that kind of sun.
Mm-hmm.
So Hou Yi was good at archery, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
He decided to do something about it.
Okay.
So he used his ability and shot down 9 of the 10 suns.
Mm-hmm.
And he became a hero because he solved everyone's problem. He kept one sun for lighting, and the other suns are just gone. So people can work again. You know, life went back to normal and everything just was great. So his wife, Chang'e, is the main character in the Moon Festival story. So to talk about that, we have to go back to Hou Yi again.
Okay.
So since he is now a hero, everybody praises him. And then he became like a monarch. So he not only became a monarch, but he was also looking for like a pill or something that can make him immortal. So he's looking for immortality. And, you know, there was one, I would say it's called alchemist in English.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one alchemist or scientist back at that time who said that he has the pill that can make him immortal.
Right.
But Hou Yi wants to be immortal with his wife, Chang'e.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked for 2 pills. And this doctor alchemist told him that if you have 1 pill, you're gonna be immortal.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have 2 pills, you're gonna go to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So Hou Yi got these pills and then gave them to Chang'e so that she can keep them safe. And, you know, when they need it, they'll just have them together.
Mm-hmm.
But Hou Yi wasn't a very good monarch to his people. He was violent and he was not very reasonable. So people were suffering, even though the sun problem is gone, but they're still suffering from Hou Yi's monarchy.
Right.
So Chang'e wasn't happy about it. And she was just thinking if there's a solution to this. And she also was worried that if Hou Yi is immortal, then people in China will just suffer under his rule forever.
Mm-hmm.
So she just took the pills. She took both of them. And she just went to the moon. That's the end of the story.
Right.
So people just look at the moon and they see Chang'e with a bunny. And back to reality, people were saying that ancient Chinese people think that the shades on moon looks like a girl and a bunny.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why people kind of came up with this story.
Right.
But in the story, it's Chang'e who go all the way to moon, and that became her. So people memorialized Chang'e and just have this moon festival to remember her and to thank her for what she has done for everyone.
Right.
And another story that is related to this is Wu Gang.
Mm-hmm.
So Wu Gang is this guy who is very muscular, very strong, and there are many versions of the story. If you're interested, you can look up online.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna talk about the one that was most written about.
Okay.
So it is said that he wanted to become kind of like a god.
Mm-hmm.
So he found a teacher in the mountains, which is pretty much every Chinese story. You know, some old guy in the mountain that can teach you some crazy thing. So he found this teacher and asked him how to become a god and have immortality. So when his teacher taught him to heal, he gave up after 3 days. And when he was taught to play Chinese chess, he gave up after 2 days. And when he was taught the method of eternal life, he gave up after 1 day. So he is a very impatient person.
Right.
And he just wants to become a god and look around. But he is too impatient to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
His teacher sent him to Moon. So he was sent there to chop down a Chinese cassia tree, or also known as Chinese cinnamon.
Mm-hmm.
So he was chopping down this tree, but the special thing about this tree is that you have to be steadily chopping it so that you can actually chop it down. And if you rest or, slack off a bit, it would just grow back to its original shape.
Mm-hmm.
So Wu Gang just chopped that tree for thousands of years because he's a very impatient person. And every time he chopped the tree, he will just slack off after some time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically the story that every Taiwanese children know
Right. Uh-huh.
about Moon Festival, or also known as Mid-Autumn Festival. So after the break, we will talk about some traditions we have during Moon Festival.
Welcome back. Now we will talk about some traditions that we have on Moon Festival.
So the first one, I would say, is the most traditional one. It's mooncake.
Right.
And there are all sizes and shapes of mooncake, big ones, small ones.
I know. Yeah, like they commercialize it so much that literally everyone have their own mooncake tradition, and it's a lot. It's a crazy time because my family would receive a lot of mooncakes as gifts at Moon Festival, and they're just too much. Some could come in like really small ones, and some are really huge. Like it's crazy. And like Godiva had mooncakes as well.
Wow. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's good too.
Okay, so mooncake has its own meaning. So the moon is round on Moon Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And people think that is a symbol of, being together, reuniting. Because it's this word in Chinese, it means, people being back together. So it's reunite.
Mm-hmm.
And mooncakes has the same shape. So it kind of represents the same idea of reuniting and just, visiting your loved ones, connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of is the underlying meaning of having mooncake.
Right.
And the next one is eating grapefruit.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
So these grapefruits, they just show up on moon festivals. I think it's because it's their season.
Right, I think so too.
I don't really have a lot to say about it, but the most special thing about it is that after we peel the skin of the grapefruit and get the meat out, children's, or even not children's, we will just make the skin into like a hat and wear it, which is kind of cute.
Like a helmet of some sort.
Yeah. And some people will even draw on the grapefruit. So it's just kind of a fun activity that people have.
And can do with family and friends.
Yeah, and the next one, this one is the most special one on the list, I'd say.
Okay.
It's barbecuing.
Uh-huh.
So this, I think, is more Taiwanese than traditional Chinese culture because it is actually a commercial that made people start to barbecue on Moon Festival.
Right.
So there was this company that was making barbecue sauce,
Mm-hmm.
and they had like this amazing commercial on Moon Festival, I think.
Yeah.
And it just slowly became a quote unquote tradition now.
Right.
So every time we think of Moon Festival, most people first idea would be barbecuing.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing though,
Right.
because it still captures the spirit of Moon Festival, which is reuniting with your family.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are just barbecuing with your family, that is still reuniting with family and, talking to them, hanging out.
Yeah, I guess it just gives everyone the idea that, like, in the past, we would have to think, like, what should we eat while we reunite? And now it's just barbecue, so I guess it's easier.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. But it's just a fairly new tradition, I would say,
Yeah, true.
because it's not strictly traditional.
Yeah.
And the last one is just watch the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So Moon Festival is a festival on the lunar calendar, and this calendar is made according to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So on this one day of a month, the moon will be round.
Mm-hmm.
So on the 15th of the 8th month of lunar calendar, it would be Moon Festival. And on that day, the moon will definitely be round.
That's right. And if you calculate it back to solar calendar, this year it would be September 21st.
So it would be next week. So I just think that everyone, even though if you're not Chinese or Taiwanese, you can still practice the spirit of Moon Festival and, maybe call your family and ask how they're doing or, go visit them.
Right. And Moon Festival is also a time that is great for students because we don't have school that day. We don't, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a holiday in our country.
Right. Super exciting. Just a time to relax and stay with family.
Yeah, so I think that's it for Moon Festival.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Remember to like, subscribe, and share our channel.
Also, comment down below if you have any thoughts. You could click on the bell to get notified when we upload a new video as well.
Thank you and bye.